Welcome students. Today we try to learn about the topic food adulteration. What are the effects, types and how the quality of the food product can be maintained through measures and standards. So what is food adulteration? Food adulteration consists of substituting a whole or a part or adding a cheaper substance or removing a vital nutrient from the food which makes the quality of the product inferior. According to the Indian Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, which was enforced in 1954, has given the definition of food adulterant. It is any material or ingredient which when present in food is injurious to health is considered as adulterant. Now what is adulteration? It is defined as a process by which the quality or the nature of a given substance is reduced. So how it is reduced? First, by adding a foreign or an inferior substance or by removing a vital element or a nutrient from the food. This is called adulteration process. Now what does adulteration includes? Adulteration includes many types like intentional addition, incidental addition or contamination of the food through microorganisms and etc. Now we discuss about the types of adulterants. So basically we have three types of adulterants. So first, incidental adulterants. So it occurs due to ignorance, negligence or lack of proper storage facilities. So due to this the food gets contaminated. Example, bacteria. A disease called botulism is caused by Clostridium botulinum and it is due to defective processed meat and fish, and it affects our nervous system which can leads to muscular paralysis. Next is fungal Aspergillus flavus, and this is due to the corn and groundnut which can affect the liver damage and can also cause cancer. Another example, parasitic. Here Entamoeba histolytica is an organism which can be seen on raw vegetables, and these raw vegetables are grown on sewage forms. So if we consume these type of foods can leads to amoebic dysentery. Second type, intentional adulterants. Here adulterants are intentionally added to the food products, can cause harmful effects on the body like lead chromate. So this causes lead poisoning which leads to epigastric pain, nausea, constipation and anemia. And other incidental contamination of the food are sand, marble chips, stones, mud, chalk powder, water, mineral oil, coal tar and dyes. Now what are the methods how we can detect the intentional adulterants in the foods? So we have many methods to detect these food adulterants. First is milk. In milk, how to identify starch? Add a pinch of iodine which indicates blue color and shows the presence of starch. Another example, the rava, or we call it as semolina. So it is usually adulterated with iron fillings. So easy method to detect this iron fillings is by taking a magnet and moving through it, that means through semolina. So iron fillings can be easily separated. Another example, sugar. It's usually contaminated with chalk powder. So to detect this, dissolve in a glass of water sugar. The chalk powder will settle down at the bottom. So this easily says that sugar is adulterated with chalk powder. The most common one more example, the chili powder which we use in preparing so many recipes. It is being contaminated with brick powder. To detect this brick powder in chili powder, we can just spread or sprinkle chili powder by tapping on the filter paper or in a glass of water. All the solid particles of the brick powder will settle at the bottom of the glass. So here it shows the presence of brick powder or sand in chili powder. And the third type of contamination is metallic contamination. Especially the heavy metals like cadmium, mercury, arsenic, antimony and cobalt are the common heavy metals where the food gets contaminated. Example, turmeric. It is coated with lead chromate, where the lead brings pathological pain, anemia, muscular paralysis, insomnia and brain damage. Another example, silver foil, which is used in common sweets, and here it contains carcinogenic nickel, lead and chromium and cadmium. If the silver foil has to be used in a sweets, then the silver foil should contain 99.9% of pure silver, and if it contains 99.9% of silver, then it is considered as edible form. And another example, the Indian chocolates also contain high amounts of nickel, and this can lead to cancer. Apart from this, we have other incidental adulterants also, can be categorized as pesticide residues and packaging hazards. Pesticide residues have been found on the foods which have been commonly used by the farmers. Example, DDT and malathion residues. The foods which contain these residues may affect various organs like thyroid gland, heart, kidney, liver, mammary glands, testes, etc. Packaging hazards. Here the temperatures has to be maintained for proper sealing and sterilization, which could result in toxic residues if the materials like polyethylene and polyvinyl chloride are being used. Example, these packaging materials are used specially for pickles. So pickles contain acid and oils. So if proper temperatures are not being maintained, these acid and oil could attack packaging material and can cause hazard. Now next, effects of food adulteration. Effects can be categorized into various types. So first one called as no effect. So that means if we consume that particular food, it is not going to cause any hazard or ill effect on our body. So we also call them as harmless adulterants. Example, addition of water to milk. This may not affect the consumers or the people unless the quality of the water is very poor. Next, acute toxicity effect. Here the adulterants contain microorganisms or their toxins which will affect the consumer's health within hours or few days. Like example, Clostridium botulinus. It produces a toxin which leads to a disease called botulism, and the symptoms we can call as double vision or muscular paralysis. Other example, Staphylococcus aureus. It is also a bacteria, produces enterotoxin especially from the dairy products, baked foods, meat, and may bring increased salivation, vomiting, abdominal cramps and diarrhea. And the third category under the effects we call it as chronic toxicity effect. Here the effects of consumption of these adulterants over a long period of time could result this chronic effect. So this may cause damage due to accumulation of the toxicant in the body. Example, metal contaminants like lead, mercury, cadmium. So these can causes failure of the central nervous system and also leads to death. Other example, pesticide residues. In this, the organic pesticides like malathion. So it contains a chemical malathion which leads to poisoning. Apart from this, we can also find some of the toxicants which are present naturally in the foods. So, when we consume the foods which are containing naturally toxin in them, if we consume, it also shows some chronic effects. Like example, trypsin inhibitors. So, these are the naturally occurring toxicants mostly found in the soya bean or most of the pulses and legumes. Fluorine causes fluorosis, uric acid in mustard oil, and all these will show the chronic toxicity. Another example, packaging materials, one of the disease they have been seen, shock lung problem. So, this is due to the blood transfusion from plastic transfusion equipment which is made of some chemical substances like PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride. Till now we came to know that our food is getting adulterated with many things, either microorganisms or with chemicals or due to physical damages also. How we can control the food quality? So, food quality can be achieved by legislative measures, certification schemes, and public participation and involvement in the program. What is the purpose of developing these food laws? First, to prevent the sale of adulterated, impure and low quality food. Second, to prevent the sale of food which is of inadequate weight, measure or number. Then third, to prevent extravagant claims from being made on labels of food items in advertisements. Next purpose is to ensure the reasonable standards of hygiene which are maintained on the premise where the food is being handled. So, now the food laws or the legislative measures which are taken nationwide and international wide are categorized in various acts. Now, first we discuss about national standards. These standards are categorized as mandatory or regulatory measures, then second voluntary measures. Under mandatory measures, the first important act is Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954. It says to ensure the food articles sold to consumers are pure and wholesome. Second, to prevent fraud or deception and encourages fair trade practices. And the third, prohibits the manufacture, sale and distribution of adulterated, contaminated foods and toxicants. The next important regulatory act is Essential Commodities Act, which is enforced in 1955. So, the objectives are to maintain supply of essential commodities to the public by proper regulation. Second, prevention of black market. Third, making it available to the public at reasonable price. Under Essential Commodities Act, there are number of control orders to ensure the safety of the product. Under this, Fruit Products Order, which was enforced in 1955. This orders lays down minimum standards in respect of quality of various fruits and vegetable products and processing facilities at manufacture, storage and sale. Then second one is Vegetable Oils Products Order. This has enforced in 1998. Here it laid down the products like vanaspati, vegetable oils, margarine, bakery and shortening agents. To develop or manufacture these products, standards has to be followed or maintained. The next order is Solvent Extracted Oil or De-oiled Meal and Edible Flour Control Order. This has enforced in 1967. So, this order says whatever the edible oils we are using and how they are being produced or manufactured. So, usually oils are being extracted with the oil seeds or nuts. So, for this they will be using a specific method called as solvent extraction method, If we follow the solvent extraction method, so what are the standards has to be maintained and how that particular oil is going to be packed, and what are the labeling conditions of oils you are specifying on the label has to be mentioned according to this order. The next, Meat Products Control Order. It's enforced in 1973. It ensures the quality and hygienic production of meat, food products including fish products. The next one is Cold Storage Order in the year 1980, and this ensures the hygienic and proper refrigeration conditions in a cold storage. Regulation the growth of cold storage industry and rendering technical guidance for scientific preservation of foodstuffs in cold store and prevent exploitation of farmers by cold store owners. And the next order is Milk and Milk Products Order. This has enforced in 1992, and this will set the sanitation and hygiene standards for dairy plants and establish an advisory board to advise the government on production, sale, purchase and distribution of milk and milk products. Now we discuss about the second category, voluntary standards. Under voluntary standards, the most important is BIS. It is called Bureau of Indian Standards Act. It is enforced in 1986. Previously, we call it as Indian Standards Institution. Can see in most of the products as ISI mark. This will ensure the safety, performance and reliability of the product. If these three are being ensured ISI, or we call it as certification mark, then standards are also laid down especially for vegetable and fruit products, spices, condiments, animal products and also processed foods. Manufacturers can use BIS label on each unit of their products if they confirm to meet these standards. The next, the Agricultural Products Grading and Marketing Act, which we commonly call as AGMARC, enforced in 1937. So the word AGMARC has a seal which ensures the quality and purity of the product. Example, most of the ghee, butter, spices or wheat, on these products we can see this particular label AGMARC, which ensures the quality and purity of the product. Now the next order, Export Inspection Council Order. This will check the quality of number of food materials which are meant for export. Consumer Protection Act, this has enforced in 1986. This promotes and protects the rights of the consumers regarding defective goods or deficiency of services or overcharging or any unfair trade practices. The second category we call as international standards. So the FAO, the Food Agricultural Organization, and WHO, the World Health Organization. So these are the two international organizations for setting the international food standards. Codex Alimentarius Commission or CAC Commission will say. So according to this, here all the types of foods, either processed, semi-processed or raw foods, for distribution to the common man, they need to maintain the standards. This standards includes in respect of food hygiene, food additives, pesticide residues, contaminants, labeling, presentation and methods of analysis and sampling. Next one, WTO, World Trade Organization. Trade reforms have transformed the business environment across the globe with upsurge of new action in industries and governments in many countries. The next one, International Organization for Standardization, as we call it as ISO. So ISO 9000, it is an international standard. This encompasses all the activities of a company to ensure that it meets the quality objectives. The second series is ISO 14000 series. This tells about environmental management system. So this will set a series of international standards on environment. That means, so whatever the product you are manufacturing, so it is not going to cause any harm to the environment. So what standards has to be maintained? Thus will be given by the ISO 14000 series. The next one, most important, ISO 22000 series. This is related to the food safety management system. So this defines the requirements of a food safety management system covering all the organizations in the food chain from farm to fork. That means right from the harvesting to the food which is coming on the plate, and it is also suitable for any business in the entire food chain, including interrelated organizations such as producers of equipment, packaging materials, cleaning agents, additives and also ingredients. So all are being interrelated with the food safety management system. So that means right from the raw material to the finished product. The next one is ISO 22000 under this 2005 series, and this is for the companies seeking to integrate their quality management systems. Food Safety and Standards Act, this has enforced in 2006. So this act has become as a single reference point to which has been clubbed with all the previous acts, as we studied about voluntary, regulatory, international standards. So all these have been clubbed and made a single command which ensures the food safety. So if we observe this FSSAI mark on any food product, this ensures that the food is safe for human consumption. So students, you got a very clear idea about the food adulteration and the types, effects, what are the measures has to be taken to maintain the quality and purity of the product. And I hope you have been enjoyed about this topic. Thank you.